There is a strange grief that comes with growing older. Not just losing people, but losing the version of yourself that once believed closeness could be simple. When you were younger, trust often felt instinctive. You met someone, opened up, gave the benefit of the doubt, and hoped the connection would hold. But over time, something changes. You become more careful with your words, more alert to mixed signals, more skilled at spotting disappointment before it arrives. And one day, you realize it is not that you stopped wanting love, friendship, or safety. It is that your nervous system no longer treats trust like a gift. It treats it like a risk. The painful truth is that many adults are not struggling to trust because they are cold. They are struggling because experience has taught them that attachment can wound, vulnerability can be used against them, and the heart remembers what the mind tries to move on from. As we get older, trusting others becomes harder, not because we become worse people, but because we become experienced ones. A child can walk into a room and assume connection is possible. An adult walks into a room carrying memory. That memory includes the friend who disappeared when things got hard, the partner who promised honesty but hid important truths, the family member who loved conditionally, the moment you were finally vulnerable and felt misunderstood instead of held. Trust does not live only in your thoughts, it also lives in your body. And, the body keeps score in quiet, stubborn ways. This is why trust is not really about logic alone. You can meet a kind person and still feel guarded. You can tell yourself, not everyone is the same, and still hesitate before opening up. Because your mind may understand nuance, but your nervous system is scanning for patterns. It's asking an ancient question, is this safe, or is this familiar danger wearing a new face? That question shapes more of adult relationships than most people realize. Many people think distrust means cynicism, but often distrust is grief with armor on. It is the emotional intelligence that developed in the wrong climate. You learn to read tone, distance, inconsistency, and silence, because at some point you had to. You became good at noticing what might go wrong because being unprepared once hurt too much. So now when someone gets close, a part of you does not only feel hope, it also feels exposure, and exposure can feel terrifying when your history has linked intimacy with pain. There is also another layer. As we age, we do not just accumulate experiences with others, we accumulate experiences with ourselves. We remember the times we ignored red flags, betrayed our own boundaries, stayed too long, explained away bad behavior, or begged for emotional crumbs because we were afraid to be abandoned. Sometimes, the hardest trust to rebuild is not trust in other people. It is trust in our own judgment. If I missed it before, will I miss it again? If I let someone in, will I protect myself this time? That inner doubt makes connection feel heavier than it used to. Attachment style plays a huge role here. If you grew up with inconsistent affection, criticism, emotional absence, or unpredictable care, your system may have learned that love is unstable. You may crave closeness and fear it at the same time. You may overthink a delayed reply, people please to avoid conflict, test people without realizing it, or pull away before they can disappoint you. This is not weakness. It is adaptation. The mind creates strategies to avoid pain, even when those strategies later create loneliness. A powerful truth sits underneath all of this. The older we get, the more we understand what it costs to love. We know that being seen is beautiful, but we also know it can be dangerous in the wrong hands. So trust becomes harder because innocence fades, patterns become clearer, and self-protection becomes more sophisticated. But that does not mean your heart is broken beyond repair. It means your heart has learned. And sometimes healing begins when you stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and start asking, "What has my pain been trying to protect?" When you see it this way, your guardedness starts to make sense. It's not proof that you are hard to love. Instead, it's proof that your system learned caution for a reason. And, what was learned in pain can be relearned through safety, awareness, and connection. In everyday life, this difficulty with trust rarely announces itself in dramatic ways. It shows up quietly, almost politely. It appears when someone is kind to you and your first instinct is to wonder what they want. It appears when a partner says, "I'm here," but part of you waits for the moment they change their mind. It appears when a friend takes too long to reply, and your thoughts begin building stories of rejection, annoyance, distance, or replacement. What looks small on the outside can feel enormous on the inside, because the present moment is often touching an older wound. This is why so many adults live in a cycle of wanting closeness and resisting it at the same time. They crave emotional validation, but when it arrives, they struggle to believe it. They want honest love, but feel suspicious when someone seems too available, too gentle, too consistent. Chaos can start to feel more believable than care, simply because it is familiar. The nervous system often prefers a known pain over an unknown peace. And that is one of the cruelest things trauma does. It makes safety feel foreign. You can see this in relationships all the time. Someone with a fear of abandonment may become hyper-attuned to tiny changes in tone, energy, or routine. They are not just listening to words, they are listening for withdrawal. A simple "I'm tired" can be interpreted as "I'm losing interest." A normal disagreement can feel like the beginning of the end. Then comes overthinking, reassurance seeking, or self-sabotage. They may cling, test, shut down, or create distance first, all in an unconscious attempt to control the pain they fear is coming anyway. People-pleasing is another common expression of distrust. On the surface, it looks generous, but underneath, it is often a strategy built on the belief that authenticity is risky. If I become exactly what others need, maybe they will stay. If I never disappoint anyone, maybe I will not be rejected. If I stay easy, useful, agreeable, then maybe I will be loved. But this creates a painful paradox. The person is loved for the version of themselves they perform, while their real needs remain hidden. So even when affection comes, it does not fully land. Deep down they think, "If you really saw me, would you still choose me?" Distrust also shows up as emotional independence taken to an extreme. Some people become so self-reliant that needing others feels humiliating. They say, "I'm fine," not because they are fine, but because dependence once felt unsafe. Maybe they learned early that vulnerability invited criticism, neglect, or disappointment. So now they pride themselves on needing no one, while privately feeling exhausted, lonely, and unseen. What looks like strength can sometimes be unprocessed pain wearing a mature face. And then there are people who keep choosing emotionally unavailable partners or, inconsistent friendships. This really confuses them. They say they want security, yet they keep ending up with people who just cannot offer it. But psychology actually explains this gently. We are often drawn not only to what is good for us, but to what feels emotionally familiar. Familiarity, well, it creates the illusion of truth. If love once felt uncertain, then uncertainty can feel like chemistry. If attention once had to be earned, ease can actually feel suspicious. So, the pattern repeats, not because the person enjoys suffering, but because part of them is still trying to master an old wound by replaying it in new forms. The tragedy is that many people blame themselves for these reactions without really understanding them. They call themselves needy, cold, damaged, too much, too guarded. But these behaviors are rarely random. They are intelligent adaptations to earlier emotional environments. The problem is that what once protected you can later, unfortunately, imprison you. A shield that helped you survive one chapter can end up blocking the love, friendship, and intimacy you long for in the next. Healing this difficulty with trust does not begin with forcing yourself to be more open. It actually begins with understanding that mistrust is not the enemy. It's often just a frightened form of self-protection. If you try to shame that part of yourself into disappearing, well, it will only tighten its grip. But if you learn to listen to it, you can begin to, separate the past from the present. You can start to ask, not, how do I become less guarded overnight? But what does my heart need in order to feel safe enough to soften? That question, honestly, changes everything. Because trust is not built through pressure. It is built through evidence, through consistency, through emotional safety repeated so many times that the nervous system slowly stops bracing. Real healing is rarely dramatic. More often, it is quiet. It is noticing that someone kept their word. It is realizing you expressed a need and were not punished for it. It is discovering that conflict did not automatically become abandonment. It is letting one new experience challenge an old conclusion. This is why one of the forms of healing is learning to trust yourself again. Not in the fantasy that you will never get hurt, but in the grounded belief that you will not abandon yourself if you do. That is maturity. Many people think trust means believing others will never disappoint you, but mature trust is wiser. It says, I cannot control every outcome, but I can pay attention, I can honor my limits, I can leave what harms me, I can stay honest with myself. When self-trust grows, other people stop feeling like emotional threats. You also begin to understand that not every wall is wisdom. Some walls are just old pain that learn to sound intelligent. There is a difference between discernment and fear. Discernment says, I will move slowly and notice what is true. Fear says, I will assume danger before life has spoken. Discernment protects your peace. Fear isolates your heart. Healing often means learning that caution can stay, but hopelessness does not have to. And this is where compassion matters. Not the soft kind that excuses harmful behavior, but the honest kind that says, of course this is hard for me. Of course intimacy feels complicated. Of course I hesitate. I have known disappointment. I have known mixed signals. I have known what it feels like to reach for love and touch confusion instead. Self-compassion does not keep you stuck. It creates the inner safety that makes change possible. People heal faster when they feel understood, even by themselves. Slowly, trust becomes less about naivete and more about alignment. You stop chasing people who feel exciting but destabilizing. You stop mistaking emotional hunger for deep connection. You stop performing to be chosen. You stop shrinking your needs to avoid being left. And in that process, something profound happens. You realize the goal was never to become someone who trusts everyone. The goal was to become someone who can recognize what is safe, respond to what is real, and remain whole even when others cannot meet you there. Maybe growing older does make trust harder, but it can also make trust wiser, more conscious, more rooted, less about fantasy, more about truth. The heart that has been hurt is not doomed. It is asking for proof, patience, and care. And perhaps that is not a flaw. Perhaps that is the beginning of a deeper kind of love. The kind that no longer begs to be chosen, because it has learned how to choose what feels like peace.